There is a video that shows one of these objects underwater that goes by. The speed was calculated between 450 and 550 knots underwater, and it was bigger than the offshore derrick that it was passing, because you could see in the video the offshore derrick, and you could see this thing zip right by it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Luis Elizondo was finally on Joe Rogan, and in today's video, I'm going to be playing a few highlights from that interview, as well as introducing you to Luis Elizondo's YouTube page. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of an interview he did on NewsNation that I'm going to be covering in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned. But first, let's get to Luis Elizondo on Joe Rogan. And in this first clip, Luis Elizondo is going to talk about a UFO the size of a city block underwater. It's crazy. Here it is.
So the Department of Defense is supposed to focus on military. That's it. You don't bring in U.S. persons' information and ingest them into a Department of Defense database, especially a Department of Defense intelligence database. That's a super no-no. That's called U.S. persons' information, and it's pretty much verboten. So our focus was looking specifically at military-sourced information. I was not focusing at all on what the private citizens were seeing, because at the end of the day, we couldn't use it. You can't do anything with the data.
And it seems like you got plenty of compelling footage from the military.
Overwhelming. There's absolutely no doubt that we didn't have to look at civilian data, because we had better collection sensor systems from the military that was looking at stuff and giving us better insight.
If you can't tell us about, can you give us some sort of an understanding of like what you're talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Without being specific?
Yeah, let me see. Okay, yeah. There is a video, high-resolution video, of I can't say what platform it was taken from. I can't say where it was taken from.
Okay.
But an object that, do you know how large an offshore oil derrick is? They're huge, right?
Yeah.
They're like almost like a small city, right? They're like one city block. They're huge. They're enormous things. There is a video that shows one of these objects underwater that goes by. The speed was calculated between 450 and 550 knots underwater, and it was bigger than the offshore derrick that it was passing, because you could see in the video the offshore derrick, and you could see this thing zip right by it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The size of a city block, y'all. I mean, that's a crazy UFO story if I've ever heard one. I would love to see that video. Now, if you ever wondered what UAP and UFO and why the different names and what exactly they mean, well, here's Luis Elizondo sort of breaking that down for us. Now, you may be thinking, I already know this stuff. Some of you may not, and some of you may think you know, but you don't. So here's Luis Elizondo to explain.
Right, a lot of them are reported as being transmedium.
Right. So that exactly why do we use the term UAP, right? Now it's unidentified anomalous phenomenon, because it's all domain. Initially it was UFO, unidentified flying object. And for several reasons they changed the name. One of them, not just because of stigma like people think, but because the word flying object means flight. And
right.
You have to have wings to fly. That's flight. And these things don't have wings. So that term, we're not even sure is even accurate anymore, because they're not necessarily flying. We see them underwater. We see them super high altitude. So the term was changed to unidentified aerial phenomenon. But again, that did not encompass all the observations we were seeing. So now the term UAP, I think the latest description of it is unidentified anomalous phenomenon, to help describe this multi-domain or transmedium characteristic that we are beginning to see and record that these things can do.
Now, this next clip that I'm about to show you is Luis Elizondo talking about a UFO off the side of an airplane, okay, from the cockpit about 15 feet away, a wedge-shaped UFO. And there's video footage of it. And Luis Elizondo draws a picture of what the UFO looks like. Now, I've spoken about this UFO sighting before, but the reason I'm showing it again is because Luis Elizondo sort of tells it in a different way. So let's take a look.
It became evident to me that this was a very serious issue. We had near misses over some of our areas of operation. In some cases, literally these UAP splitting a combat formation. Now, if you know how planes fly, they fly very close in a combat situation. These things were splitting the formation, right? That there were reports being provided through the Air Force, mostly through the Navy, about air safety issues, where pilots literally could run into these things, right? They were pervasive. It wasn't like a onesie and twosie.
Was there ever an incident where a pilot or a jet did run into something?
Not that I'm aware of. What I can tell you that there has been incidents where there appears to be some sort of provocation, where one of these things seems to be coming deliberately close to an aircraft, not necessarily trying to hit it, but maybe trying to demonstrate performance capabilities. There was one video in particular. I haven't been cleared by the Pentagon, so let me see if I can speak about it in general terms. There's a pilot flying, and you can hear on the radio this chatter back and forth. Do you see it? Do you have eyes down on it? Pilot, nope, negative, no eyes down. Okay, you should have it on radar. Yeah, I got something on radar, but no eyes, no, I can't see it. And then all of a sudden, a craft, an object goes whizzing right by the cockpit, and I mean probably like 15 feet away. And you can hear the pilot, the expletives of the pilot. You know, I won't say it here on air, but you can imagine, right, what a pilot would say when they're very, very surprised. That was one. There's
Can you describe what he saw?
I think I can. I want to be careful that I don't, because again, I haven't had what I have approval to talk about. I've spoken about. Let me preface this by saying I still have my security clearance, and on occasion I still will consult for the U.S. government, and so I want to be very mindful. I have no problem going up all the way to the line.
Right, understood.
But if I put up, a pinky toe over that line, they're
right.
they're going to get me. But it was a wedge-shaped craft.
Wedge-shaped.
Wedge-shaped, like triangular, but yeah, like a wedge. Like I don't know how else to describe it. I could draw it for you if you want. You want me to draw it?
Sure, you can.
Yeah. So give me a second.
So just like a wedge that you would like split wood with, like that kind of a wedge?
Yeah, but it was silver metallic, and like a diamond maybe. That's a better way to describe it. Like a diamond almost. And it looked kind of like that. Really, it's just a little.
And that kind of shape is something that's been reported multiple times.
So that was the first time I ever saw something like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was. Keep in mind, I never followed this topic, so every time I'm seeing one of these videos, I'm kind of seeing something for the very first time. So lenticular, whether it's a disc-shaped craft, or it's a wedge-shaped craft, or a diamond-shaped craft, or a triangle-shaped craft, boomerang in some cases, these were all new to me. So it was very, very perplexing, and obviously to our military pilots, it was very concerning.
Now let's take a look at that drawing that Luis Elizondo made. It's definitely not the wedge shaped I was thinking, in my opinion, but I'm glad he drew it because now I have a better understanding of what exactly he was talking about when he says wedge shaped, because that's not what I thought. I'm thinking lime wedge or something. So this was a great explanation, in my opinion. Now, before I get to that preview of the NewsNation interview, Luis Elizondo has a YouTube channel, and he put out a video today to help promote his channel. It's quick. Here it is.
Hi, everybody out there in YouTube. I'm Lou Elizondo, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I know I've been a little bit quiet recently over the last few years, but I think the time has come, time is right for me to have a conversation with you one-on-one. Some of you may know that I just recently finished an interview on the one and only Joe Rogan experience. And it was an amazing experience nonetheless. It was an incredible opportunity. I chose to use YouTube so I have a chance to engage with each and every one of you more one-on-one, a little bit more intimately, and maybe address more thoroughly some of your questions you may have for me. So please feel free to drop any questions or comments you have down below.
So if you haven't already subscribed to Lou Elizondo's YouTube channel, please use the link in the description and go subscribe and sign up and support the man. Now, let's get to this preview on NewsNation. It's a 45-minute sort of mini documentary about Luis Elizondo and his family. And as you'll note in this clip, Luis Elizondo and his family have been through a lot, especially with orb sightings.
Oh, wow. Where do I start? Well, we would have these weird glowing balls of light in the house. They were green. They were small. They were diffuse, kind of like a little neon ball, and it really caused some disruption for my kids and my wife.
What were you seeing?
I would routinely see orbs.
What do you mean by orbs?
Small, little, spherical, green, lightish green type of color. And I'd be just walking down the hall, and I would just stop, and it would just continue to go right through the wall.
So we're talking about the hitchhiker effect. Something had followed Lou home from work.
Or by his very nature, yes.
How did he explain things? Was he able to talk about what was going on?
Not well.
I could imagine you were pretty angry.
I was very upset. The house had been turned upside down.
So there's a great teaser for that NewsNation interview. And remember, tomorrow in my video, I will be breaking down that entire interview and showing you different highlights. So, hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. We'll see you on tomorrow's video. Peace!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.